Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to D-Day for our friends up north. Also, welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Jonah Booker in just a moment. Oh, we're going to find out today. We've been waiting for almost 2 years, but certainly we've been waiting, I don't know what, like 70 days since the hearing. What's going to happen to Michigan? And we're going to find out today. It's supposed to get released at noon, and then there's going to be a press conference, a Zoom press conference at 1. So I can't give you guys the details of that Zoom press conference. Yeah, so I think we're going to know around noon today. So Jay Book and I are going to kind of opine what we think might happen, what we're hearing, what other people are saying. What I pay attention to the most, if there's like Michigan guys that have been confident nothing's going to happen, and all of a sudden they're backing off of that and said, uh-oh, that always speaks volumes to me. So we'll start off with that. We're also going to talk about D tackle depth or the lack thereof, but I want to start off with the fun stuff. All right. Speaking of fun stuff, Goodr Sunglasses, they start at just $25 a pair. You get a 1-year warranty. You get 30-day free returns. They're lightweight. They're comfortable. They're 100% polarized. There's no slip, no bounce. You can get vibrant colors, sleek styles. There's a pair of Goodrs for every personality. They're designed for both everywhere day and active individuals that love to run, hike, bike, play tennis, and more. They look just good cruising around in your car. If you need a new pair of sunglasses, Goodr is giving Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners free shipping. You can go to goodr.com/Bucknuts, use code Bucknuts for free shipping. Goodr offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's goodr.com/Bucknuts and use code Bucknuts for free shipping. All right. Yeah, buddy. It almost feels like a game day. Welcome in, Jay Book. Good to see you on a Friday as always.
How are you? a lot going on today on the Friday, eh?
I was gonna say, right? It does. It feels like it's like the day before a game, and then, but we're gonna find out the result today, so it feels like it's actually game day. But yeah, man. So like I said in the intro, like we're supposed to find out like around noon today, and then there's a press conference at 1. I'm guessing we're gonna know the details before the press conference begins, obviously. So hopefully, for you that means 9 a.m. Eastern. What a nice morning for you out there.
I know it. Dropped the kid off at school today, man. Grab me a coffee and sit back and watch the show. Either way.
Yeah, like what are you hearing? I know there's a lot of noise out there. If you had to, I don't think they're going to get the death penalty. I don't think they're going to get like the title stripped, but I don't think it's going to be a slap on the wrist. Where do you come down?
See, my gut feeling is I don't trust the NCAA, Dave. Like I said this week, I think their glory days are behind them. But as you started to hear, I think it was Ross Dellinger last night. I think it was pretty late last night. He was on the on 3 with what's his name, Andy Stapleton's podcast.
Andy Staples, yeah, Andy Staples,
yeah. Yep. And he was talking about the infraction case, and he said that the NCAA had told Michigan they want a postseason ban, and Michigan was fighting that. That's why they were never able to come to a negotiation, kind of settlement there. So I thought that was interesting because, Josh Payton for the longest period of time has said there's no way the NCAA is going to issue a postseason ban because they don't want to hurt one of the media darlings with a major Fox contract. And that was kind of his theory. And I thought it was fascinating that he also said that Connor Stallions was crying like a little girl. Little baby in front of the NCAA committee. And so, Connor gets on the internet, talks all tough, and goes in front of the NCAA and breaks down and is sobbing, crying. It should be fascinating. The one thing I have to say about it, Dave, hasn't been a whole lot of leaks. Is that? Do you think that's? I mean,
I'm going to pair what somebody said in the chat. I think if it was good for Michigan, don't you think we would have heard something from the blue wall, from inside the blue wall?
Yeah, that's what I was, trying to wrap my head around. It's like, hey, if we heard some leaks, it was definitely going to be from the blue wall doing a victory lap, spiking the football.
Yeah, that again, that's telling, and it's not quite as telling as there has been some others that have kind of backed off their stance, so to speak. And this is all good news if you're looking for, again, I don't know how you define hammer.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to get the hammer, which would be, I think, national title stripped. I think they're going to stop short of that, but I do think there's going to be, if I had to guessing here, I'm not pretending like I have any inside information here, but I have been fascinated by the whole thing. I've been listening to what people are saying, especially people like Ross Dellinger, who's like really, really good at what he does. So I think they're going to definitely have a postseason ban, as you mentioned. That was already on the table. I wonder if it's going to be 1 year or 2 years. They're just going to get away with it this year. They're going to have a postseason ban next year as well. Because it's not a coincidence, in my opinion, J-Book, they scheduled that extra game in Germany.
Yeah.
Probably thinking they were not going to, be postseason eligible. That's why they scheduled that game in Germany, so their kids could have that trip and they could sell that for recruits. Not quite the same as playing in the CFP, my friends. But whatever works. I do think Sharon Moore's suspension is going to get increased, probably doubled, so probably from 2 to 4 games. I do think they're going to get some title or some victories stripped. It might be some mitigated thing where they're like, well, we're only going to do the games where we know Connor Stallions, had taped their games in person, these future opponents. So I think they're going to get a few games stripped. I don't know how many, but I wouldn't even be surprised if they don't strip any wins. If it's all pushing forward, that will make me upset if nothing retroactively happens. Like they should get some wins taken away for sure.
All right. I will say this, regardless of what the punishment will be today, there's no doubt about it that Michigan was a renegade program towards the latter end of Jim Harbaugh's career, and they cheated. If you didn't cheat, you wouldn't be in this situation to where the NCAA today, after 2.5 years, they're issuing a final penalties for the actions that were caused by Connor Stallion and all of the rogue employees within that program. So regardless of what happens, if Michigan fans take their victory lap today, you can always say, hey, you cheated. There's no denying that your program was out of control under Jim Harbaugh. Once he gets this, lifetime show cause from the NCAA, you can look at it and say, hey, no coach has ever been hit as hard as Jim Harbaugh by the NCAA. And that kind of gives you an indication on what this program was under his leadership. And I will say this, Dave. I appreciate the Bucknuts and the platform. Like, we discuss it because it's the rivals up north. But Bucknuts never made a living off of Michigan getting hammered. So after today, and we move on, this program and all of the Bucknuts programming that has, going throughout the week, all of the different guests that come on here, we'll continue to talk Ohio State football and do great numbers and talk about how awesome this program is going to be. Like, the backbone and the foundation of Bucknuts podcast was not made on Michigan scandal. It's made on this phenomenal program that Coach Day is running.
Hence why we are still basking. Yeah, I mean, this is just icing on the cake. I mean, yeah. I'm not. Whatever happens today. I don't. Yeah, like this is why I never would have bet my reputation on what the NCAA is going to do. I know it should happen.
Right.
That doesn't mean that's what will happen. Like in many facets of life, something should happen, but might not happen. So, yeah, man, I'm not going to stake my reputation with the NCAA.
That's how I feel. Like there's a side of me says this is what I think should happen, which is, yes, they should have to vacate wins. Yes, they should be able to receive a postseason ban, and lots of people with show causes and whatnot. But I'm in the mind frame of like, yes, that's what should happen. But I don't trust the NCAA, especially when Michigan is threatening legalities here, because the NCAA they are allergic to having any type of lawsuits. And I kind of hope that it goes down that route, Dave, because now you start talking about discovery and getting really opening the books for the blue wall there. But I just don't trust the NCAA at all.
Yeah, I don't know what to think. I do think it's going to be more severe than anybody at Michigan wanted to believe until maybe recently, because it seems like now like reality is setting in. But I also don't think it's going to be as bad as maybe some Ohio State and Michigan State fans wanted. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. So we'll see what happens.
Before we move on to the next topic, Dave, How great is it to be an Ohio State fan, man?
It's good.
Because you're coming off a national championship. You're stress free right now. And this morning I was in there making myself a coffee, right? And I was reflecting back on the time when Ohio State was under NCAA scrutiny with the Tackgate situation. We all felt that it was completely overblown. But man, there was like a knot in your chest as you're leading up to when the announcements were get ready to happen. At that point, Tressel had already lost his job. Urban had taken over. Remember, Gene and everybody in Urban was saying they don't think the NCAA penalties were going to be harsh. Urban was saying he would have never taken this job if he didn't think the NCAA was just going to go ahead and, call it a day. And then they come out there and say a ban. At the time, it was like so defeating as Ohio State fan. Now you sit back, you're like, we got a natty. Ohio State did it the right way. They didn't cheat. While we're sitting back here basking, we're watching the world burn with the Michigan faithful up north, because I know what they're feeling, because I remember it like it was yesterday when they were announcing that the sanctions after the Tackgate.
Basking in the glow of the dumpster fire that is happening up north. Yeah, I mean, after all of this, we're going to find out. I love it. I keep saying the same thing. It just feels like it's like game day to me. Like we're about ready to find out. All the chirping is about to end. Or maybe it's just beginning. But as far as like what's going to happen, I predict this. I have my sources saying this. Well, we're going to find out who was right, who was wrong, who was in between. You can't go wrong with Brunt Boots. I mean, they're fantastic. Oh, I should have had this ready. Very unprofessional of me. Brunt Boots. At least I didn't have to like walk over to my desk to get them. Bam. These are their Marin soft toe. Look at that. Very comfortable. And we can get you guys a great deal on Brunt Boots. They've designed the best work boots on the planet. I'm not exaggerating. They have designed boots that withstand the toughest job sites while feeling as comfortable as your favorite sneakers. They also look great. So I can even wear them with like jeans, and people are like, where'd you get those boots? I'm like, Brunt, and I can get you guys a good deal. Again, these are the most comfortable work boots you will have ever tried. But Brunt also has some other great gear, like weather-resistant jackets, pants, and much more. Brunt didn't just make a durable work boot. They reinvented comfort for the hardest workers out there. So here's where we can get you guys a good deal here. You guys got to take advantage of this. This is an awesome company, and they have a lot of different boots. They have steel toe. I just happen to show you their Marin soft toe. All right, here's where you got to pay attention. You get $10 off. All right, use code Bucknuts when you go to bruntworkwear.com. So go to bruntworkwear.com, use code Bucknuts, you get $10 off, and you're all set. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please tell them that we sent you from the Bucknuts Morning 5. Again, bruntworkwear.com, $10 off when you use the code Bucknuts. All right. I could just talk about the Michigan. Well, maybe we'll circle back and talk more about it. I was hoping maybe during the show something would leak out because with this being this close to the announcement, man, the year 2025, nothing's leaked. Yeah. That's impressive. That's impressive.
It's impressive because it was funny because the first part of all of the stuff, it was getting leaked out from Michigan State and Ohio State people, and it was funny because the Michigan people will be on their site saying, how is all of this stuff being leaked out by our enemies? And then you get here to it's D-Day time and nothing's coming out.
So all offseason, we talked about the seeming lack of depth at defensive tackle, hoping this guy steps up, this guy steps up. We like the starters with K-Mac and Houston, but are they going to have suitable depth at D tackle, especially after Ryan Day said himself, as you know, Jay Book, like we asked him in the spring and he was like, yeah, we have been looking for one in the portal. We're going to continue looking for one. We've been actively looking, but we're not just going to get one just to get one. So they didn't get one just to get one. So I was thinking hopefully guys like Will Smith Jr., Tywone Malone, Jason Moore, Eric Mensa, two of those guys really step up. I asked Larry Johnson yesterday, and he didn't name any names other than those two starters. And then he mentioned Jarquez Carter. Now, this could just be Larry wanting to keep his guys motivated. This could be Larry being coy when he's talking publicly. But my vibe was that Larry, he's a cool cat. He's not going to like act like he's like super like worried about it. But like, I think Larry is clearly worried about the lack of depth, quality depth. They have bodies, quality depth at D tackle, which I know is not a surprise, Jay Book.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff yesterday when you guys were talking to Coach Johnson. I thought he actually threw several nuggets out there. Looking at my notes from the press conference, the one thing that really stood out to me, he talked about how in the spring there was a focus on fundamentals, techniques. Now, as they're getting ready to get ready for Texas, the focus on the defensive line, especially defensive tackles, playing hard as you can for as long as you can so that you can get ready to simulate that same type of effort in the actual football games. And I think he was asked about K-Mac, and he basically said, we have to have a rotation. And it's my job to make sure we are rotating. And they don't know how many snaps K-Mac can actually handle. It's not going to be 60 in a game. And so they're trying to say, okay, K-Mac, when you're giving us your best effort, how many plays is that? Is that 30? Is it 35? Is it 40? If that's it, okay, great. I now need to get the next wave of guys. And it sounds like they're having quite a bit of guys stepping up. Brian Browning was at practice this week, and he said Tywone Malone had himself a day and was very dominant, being disruptive in the backfield, creating a lot of havoc. So that's good to hear because he's someone that they definitely need. Will Smith's name has been floated out there as someone who's been stepping up. Larry mentioned him, said he's up to, I think, 293, 295, somewhere around that range. He's been playing the nose tackle primarily there. Larry said that he's the perfect kind of nose tackle with his strength. He's gotten a lot stronger. And then with Edric Houston's out, they've been able to get some guys some live reps there. The one thing that Larry made a big emphasis on, he said he has guys. The thing is these guys don't have experience. They haven't played a lot of football. It doesn't mean that they don't have the potential to be really good. It's his job to make sure that he can have enough guys who's going to give max effort in the game because it's going to be something that a lot of these guys have never experienced before. It's different from practice to when you're playing the number one team in the country, and it's probably going to be 90 plus degrees out there.
Yeah, and LJ said, we're still trying to find our who our ones are and who our twos are and who our threes are. So I think they know who the ones are.
Right.
Edric seems like he's okay. Thank goodness that was just a scare. I think it was a hyperextended knee, but you never know. That doesn't mean he's going to be 100% for the Texas game. I don't know exactly where he's at, but still got 15 days, so I think he's going to be fine. Let me get your prediction on who is going to be on the two deep. If you had to pick two guys, putting you on the spot, I know. Who do you think will fill out the two deep? Who will be the top two backup D tackles?
Oh, I think you're probably. See, I'm going back and forth between Jason Moore and Will Smith there, Dave. Like, what have you heard about Jason Moore before I give you my?
You can take both of them. I need to.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I hear up and down. It's just consistency is not there with him, is what I've heard. But he shows flashes of greatness. Yeah.
I'm going to go Will Smith Jr. and Tywone Malone as the two backup defensive tackles, and then at that point you're talking about Caden Curry and CJ Hicks and Logan George kind of rotating there at your defensive end, depending on the packages there. But I do think that Jason Moore will be in the mix, and Jarquez Carter is an interesting one, Dave, because if he's a true freshman, and the thing is Larry said, I need people to understand what we're doing, number one, and number two, I need you to be disruptive and playing at a high level. And if you're a freshman doing that, then you're going to go see the field. And then he throws Carter's name out there. So that is something to keep an eye on, because if Carter, because he has the size now, and if he has the motor and he's going to give you something out there, it may be a true freshman that's in that two deep. And if so, that's a big time win, Dave, because I'm always of the mindset of if you have a freshman and you can get something out of them, then at that point, that's just kind of a cherry on the top, especially at a place like Ohio State where top to bottom, you're going to be loaded. if you're getting something out of Carter, that right there tells me that this kid is an absolute ball player. I don't view it as a negative to say, oh, because you have to play a freshman, you guys are struggling at the defensive tackle position. Nah, if that kid can come into at a place like Ohio State and ball out and play at a high level, that tells me he's the real deal Holyfield.
Yeah, I've seen this many times when a coach, especially a guy like LJ, who's a little reserved, not a guy that maybe is a chatterbox. If a coach like that, especially when he's not name dropping anybody else, he mentioned K-Mac, Edric Houston, and who's the only other D. And again, this is unprompted. I asked the question. I didn't name anybody. Hey, can you talk about the Jarquez Carter? Can you talk about the freshman? No, it was like, can you get into some of the guys who are stepping up? And he was like, yeah, K-Mac and Houston's like, okay, of course. Then he was like, I could start throwing names out there like Jarquez Carter, and then he didn't name anybody else. That's never an accident, is my point. That spoke volumes to me that that was like the name that came to mind. Now, does that mean that Jarquez Carter is going to be the top backup as a true freshman? Probably not. I agree with you. That's probably going to be, maybe a Will Smith Jr. or Jason Moore or Tywone Malone. But it sounds like Carter is definitely going to be in the mix. This is a young man. 6'1", 288, looks very strong, quick, has a lot of energy out there at practice, and was really good player against top competition in Florida. I mean, he was like, very, very, very productive. So hopefully that materializes.
And
all right.
One more for you. Eric
Yes,
Mensah's name was mentioned quite a bit early on in camp as someone that was starting to stand out. You haven't heard so much about Mensah as we heading towards Texas prep week, but he was a kid's name early on at the start of camp. I don't know if he kind of hit that wall. There's a point when you start to get those camp legs where your legs are heavy, you're starting to feel a little exhausted. That first week, that's when you're like, hey, I'm feeling fresh coming off summer workouts, and you show out. Now you got to dig deep. And Mensah was a guy early on, so I don't know where he's at right now, but wouldn't be surprised if he finds himself kind of in that rotation as well, because like Larry said, we need guys to be able to dominate, number one, and number two, I need you to be able to give me 35 max effort plays. I can't have you going 60 plays and you're only giving max effort half of those. I'll get somebody in there who will be able to sub you out and really get after the quarterback.
So remind me, when you were at Ohio University, was it still the era where they had two-a-days before the NCAA? Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. So now the guys don't even have 2 days, I'm not going to act like it's easy. It's not easy. It's very, very, very hard. But, man, you guys, because when I first got on the beat, they had 2-a-days all the time under Tressel, and then the NCAA outlawed it. So, yeah, you know a little something about getting camp legs, my friend.
Those 2-a-days were brutal, man. Like, after the morning session, it was mandatory. You got to go sit in the ice bath. If you didn't, you were going to be punished right after that. And halfway through camp, man, you would just feel it. And that Ohio humidity, they didn't have indoor facilities when I was at Ohio University. Now they have a beautiful, gorgeous indoor facility down there. But when I played, they didn't have that. So you were just out there right there on the Hocking River, man, just humid as heck.
You probably wanted to jump in the Hocking River many times, I imagine.
I know. As soon as you step out there, dude, it was just like that heat, man. And it was, what was it? Corey, remember when Corey Stringer passed away with the Vikings? He overheated. I think that was like my freshman year, sophomore year, something like that. So I remember it was my sophomore year. So the first camp, that was like the old school days where they were like drinking water, like whatever, get back in the huddle, get back over there. Don't be over there drinking water and stuff. After the whole Corey Stringer thing, that's when it totally flipped to where you were required to have hydration because they didn't want the liability or that any kids passing out and stuff. But now these guys with the new rules, the NCAA limits how long they can actually be on the field. But those kids, they when they're out there though, they give max effort. They give it their all, and then they go inside and they do a lot of chalkboard work now.
No doubt about it. All right, we'll get you out of here in this. Let's make some predictions on what's going to happen to Michigan. Again, we're not staking our reputations on this because, man, it almost feels like a craps table. I'll go first. Okay, again, I think they're going to get a 1-year postseason ban. I don't think it'll be 2. I think Sharon Moore's basically repeating what I said earlier. I think his suspension will get increased. Scholarship reductions doesn't really matter anymore. They'll also get a heavy fine. To me, that doesn't matter at all. They just paid, $10 million for their freshman quarterback. If it's a $14 million fine, I think that Larry Ellison has that in his pockets right now.
Yeah.
That's nothing, but they'll get fined. And I do think, and this is important to me, I do think they'll get some wins vacated. That's the one I am least confident in, though. I am least confident in that they'll get some wins vacated. And dude, I don't even care if it's fill in the blank. It's not going to be a lot, but I don't think they're going to get their title stripped. They'll always have an asterisk by it, but I don't think it's going to get stripped. Those are my predictions. What are yours?
You're way more optimistic than I am, Dave.
I don't even think I'm optimistic.
Yeah, because I just have zero faith in the NCAA. I say that they're going to be hit with recruiting restrictions in there on how many guys they're allowed to have on campus for visits, how many times Sharon Moore coaches can actually go out on the road. I think that's going to be thrown in there just to say that they did something. Upwards to $10 million fine. I think that's going to be a given. I think Tennessee's fine of $8 million at the time was the highest fine the NCAA has issued. I think they're going to go above and beyond that. I think it's going to be 5 games for Sharon Moore, lifetime ban for Jim Harbaugh, Connor Stallions. I think he's going to probably get a lifetime ban. I do believe that there were some other coaches involved that kind of came to a resolution with the NCAA. I think they'll announce those coaches as well, probably with a 1 or 2 year show cause, which it's not going to mean anything because they're in the NFL.
Right.
I don't think they're going to vacate any wins. I think there's on the table a 1 year postseason ban. I think that if Ross Dellinger is correct and that's what the NCAA wanted, I think they're going to throw it out there and then tell Michigan, if you want to take it to court, by all means, go ahead. So I do think a 1 year postseason ban is on the table. I believe it's going to be a situation to where the NCAA is going to try to satisfy both parties here, meaning the public and everybody else in college football in Michigan. The one thing that kind of tipped the scales for me, Dave, is when the Big Ten commissioner wrote a letter to the NCAA saying enough is enough already. And especially when this was a guy who was kind of at the forefront when it all broke, really hammering Michigan. And now with him saying, all right, enough is enough, be done with this. I thought that right there was kind of telling because the NCAA is slowly losing power. The SEC and the Big Ten are probably on the brink of pulling college football from under the NCAA umbrella as is. And I think this is just another power play from the conference to try to protect one of their big dogs in Michigan, who is a program who generates quite a bit of revenue. Now, that's what I think will happen. What should happen is a totally, completely different conversation. But either way, Dave, I'm going to sit back and enjoy my Friday, man, because, hey, the Buckeyes, we got Texas coming up. We got a heck of a squad. Regardless of what the decision is, it's not going to faze me one bit because I was never in the camp screaming that these guys are going to get, smashed to oblivion. I just think that with the way that the NCAA is toothless nowadays, they're going to try to straddle the fence as much as possible.
Get your popcorn ready. You got your coffee. I hope you've loaded up on popcorn too, my friend. All right. Great stuff as always from Jonah Booker. Thank you very much to Jay Book. Thanks to all of you. We appreciate it very much. Hope everyone has a great day, great weekend. Go Bucks. I hope you are still basking.
I know it. Hey, Dave, if they get hammered, man, I don't know. We might have to do like an emergency Twitter Spaces for like 10, 15 minutes or something like that. We'll see. If
hammer time comes, I'm in on that.
I'll text you and we'll see what happens.
Sounds good. Thanks, man. All right. Appreciate it. All right. Have a good day, everybody.